I am Joe Layden with Cowboys and Indians magazine, and I'm very happy to be talking again to Kali Reis.
How you doing? Nice to see you again.
Same here, same here. You're looking good. You're looking good.
You.
Wish I could say the same about myself, but you reach
And
a
the beard, you oil the beard nicely. I see it shining through the Zoom video. I love
certain
it.
just for you, just for you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get serious now here. Um, did you have much trouble uh picking up the Inuit dialect for your role?
There's not much that my character says in the language. She's a bit estranged from the culture, and that's just she's living between two worlds, coming from the Inupiaq and Dominican background. And she's one that hasn't spent all her life in that part of Alaska. Um, but I did want to get the words that I did say correctly. Their dialect is so much different than, back on the East Coast. So I just really just wanted to be a student and hear from this people who spoke the language and really understand exactly how to say it. But because my character wasn't much familiar with the words, it kind of not worked in my favor, but it was a character. The character really didn't have too much to say in her language. So, but personally, it's a beautiful language, but it's so complex and it's so different than the dialect we speak.
Now, you've already established yourself as an actor. You've been winning, a special honor at the Tribeca Film Festival and being nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. But this is kind of your biggest undertaking in acting to date. Were you all intimidated? Were you all reluctant?
Reluctant, no. I welcome on challenging, and I don't do anything in the norm. I kind of just hit the ground running with everything. I think my tone is doing the hardest thing first, and getting thrown into you got to sink or swim. So intimidated, no. Nervous, yes. But excited, yes, because I knew it was such a huge challenge to take on. But I knew I also was capable to figure it out because that's kind of been the tone of my entire life to have to figure it out. And if I wasn't ready for it, I wouldn't get it. And so I took it as graceful as I could and very thankful, very humble. And I just vowed to do the best I could with what I had in the circumstances. And it was an honor to be able to tell the story. And then what better way to be early on in my career? It's almost like going to school with a legend like Jodie Foster, having an amazing story to tell with an amazing director, show writer, writer. It was just like a dream, a chance of a lifetime. So I wasn't going to screw this up.
What was there any point though during rehearsals, pre-production, or even during filming, where the thought formed in your head, "Holy moly, I'm acting opposite Jodie Foster"?
Every day, every damn day. No, it was surreal, and actually, she's such a beautiful, talented, intelligent woman, hilarious as well. So it was so refreshing to be able to go, especially to the first rehearsal, and everything was so supportive. She was so interested in on what I've done and my ideas and her ideas, offered her help. So it created even more space for me to be comfortable enough to create. My ideas were heard, and I'm one that embraces criticism or other perspectives because I want to do my best. And if I can hear from a legend such as Jodie Foster, that's awesome. But I still go, man, I did a whole show with Jodie Foster. I say that at least once a day, and it's still surreal that we told this story. And she's just an amazing partner to work with. I mean, it was really cool to see how she was going to portray Danvers. That's the biggest thing I was interested in because I had so many ideas of maybe how she would portray her. Oh man, she did. She was such an asshole.
What was the toughest nut for you to crack in terms of playing Evangeline? I mean, what aspect of her character you really, really had to concentrate on a lot to get it through on the screen?
Her being comfortable being a state trooper, being a detective, being in law enforcement. That was something that personally I've never seen myself playing, but there was something that I wasn't familiar with that was challenging because I wanted to get it. authentic, not even right, because people's right and wrongs differ from person to person. But I just wanted to be authentic in the position that she was in, so that was pretty challenging, especially also not being I don't speak for all Native Americans across the board. I'm not Inupiaq. I'm not from Alaska, and we have protocol as Indigenous people as to ask permission, don't assume, ask. And I just want to make sure that I got the perspective of Inupiaq people and how do you want to see yourself on screen, because I'm Native, I'm Indigenous, but I don't come from where you come from. So that was a challenge I welcomed on, but I wanted to do it correctly. I wanted to make sure that the representation was done correctly.
Were there ever days on the set where you looked at all of these frozen bodies, like a Hieronymus Bosch, painting, and get the giggles?
Oh, all the time, because I met the bodies before I met the real people. Like I knew what they look like before I knew what they look like, kind of a thing. So but it was kind of like walking by the lamp. It kind of just they were like they were made so amazingly, and they looked horrifying. But after the first hour, I'm sipping my tea, waiting for the next setup. You know what I mean? It was kind of funny. Give them a little fist bump as you walk by, kind of thing.
Were you discouraged from from doing that, or did everybody else do it too?
No, I mean it was we were all looking at them, and it was kind of, whatever. It would not make jokes, but it was like, that's a real, we forgot they were real people until we met the real people. Yeah, it was kind of cool. And just the way they created them, it was terrifying. But I think we all were kind of like, hey, how you doing?
Now it seems as though suddenly, maybe not suddenly, but recently, there has been more attention paid, and rightly so, to the problem of missing or murdered Indigenous women. How important did that aspect of the show feel to you?
It felt as real as it does when I was in front of another camera in another arena when I was boxing. We are taught to be a voice for the voiceless, fight for those who can't fight, dance for those who can't dance, and those who passed on before us and who's going to come after us. We have to set the tone and do our job while we are here, and it's such an underheard epidemic. With no support or no help, or very little at the very least, and it's something that's real in everyday life to a lot of families. And the biggest thing is we owe respect not to only the victims and the survivors, but the families of these people that go missing. So that was hugely important, and it's we're seeing it more and more often, and I'm glad that we're seeing it be broadcast more often. But I'm not happy that it's still a problem. We're seeing, you know what I mean? There's no solid solution to the problem, or even a starting point. There's been movements, because there's more attention on it, for things like more shows, or more people speaking out about it publicly, which is actually helping, and more conversations to be had, more people know about it, which that's a start. I just wish it wasn't happening anymore. You know what I mean? So it's really important for us to use our voice where it can be heard. And these women, these people are lost, and their voices, their names shouldn't be forgotten at all.
What was the most difficult scene for you in the entire limited run series? I mean, what was the scene? You looked at your call sheet for the next day, and oh, we're doing that tomorrow. I guess I can't call in sick, huh? I mean,
I will say, especially being so early on in my career, the intimacy scenes was so intimidating. Because I didn't know. You hear horror stories, um, as a audience member, you just have a speculation how things are done. I got well educated, well taken care of, well supported through it, but it was nerve wracking. I wanted to get that right too, and I wanted to portray the story of these powerful women, and the way Issa wrote these scenes is flipped this on its head. You don't see women being portrayed as having their choice and having power, and just control over their choices and agency over their sexuality and their choices, which it was a very bold move and a commendable and a necessary move on Issa's writing. And I want to make sure I got that right too, because we weren't just portraying, just because something's consensual doesn't mean it's really a choice, or you see women in power in these situations. So I just want to make sure I got that right. And it was nerve wracking. It was nerve wracking as hell.
well, I have to say that in my mind, there was no doubt who was in charge in those scenes.
Yeah, that was a point. Kudos to Issa for writing it so well.
Did you ever sit down and talk with Issa about how she came up with this particular character?
She her mind is like such a is in a universe of its own. She just has this amazing mystical mind, especially with supernatural horror, and these particular characters is what something she mentioned recently as are people that she wish she could be like, and that's also how part of her as well, and stories and how she grew up, people she's known, and um, they're very near and dear to her. She's very particular on how she created these characters, but I know there's parts of her in both characters.
Final question. I don't want to give too much away, but there is a scene early on where you have your character has a close encounter with a polar bear. Uh, I assume they didn't have a real polar bear in front of your. Well, I don't know. Maybe they did. I mean,
Doomed wrong, my friend.
uh, how do you prepare yourself to react to seeing a polar bear?
I imagine myself to seeing a real polar bear. Like what I don't know what I would do. It's you know, you ever been or have stood next to like a mountain that you could just feel the energy of how immense that thing, that being is. I kind of just like it's something that you don't see every day. Put it that way, and that's kind of how I prepared. I would love to see a polar bear up close, but I wouldn't that close. So that was kind of how I imagined. I've never seen one up close, so just imagine that.
By the way, before I go, I got to ask: did they let you keep all of the warm weather clothes?
No, unfortunately, they did not. I wanted the hat. I wanted the hat, but it's all good.
Well, I can understand it because you look marvelous in it.
Thank you. I didn't want any of the law enforcement trooper clothes. I'm good. The jacket was really warm, but I didn't want to walk around looking like I'm a cop. No, thank you. I will play one on TV. I don't want to. Nope.
Well, who knows? I mean, after seeing this movie, you might get a call from, Dick Wolf or someone to
I don't
beat him
mind
up.
playing one. I just don't want to walk around society with like a big badge on. I'm not a cop. It's not illegal anyway, but I'll take
Indeed,
the hat.
indeed. Well, look, thank you very much for your time and your words, and congratulations on another outstanding performance. And I look forward to seeing many more from you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice talking to you again.
Same here. Take care now.